Hi everyone, I'm Amber. Welcome back to my channel. We're in my car today. That's fine. The lighting's pretty good. And sorry if my hair's a little crazy. I'm growing out my undercut, but that's besides the point. So today we're gonna be reviewing the live action Avatar series. That's on Netflix. That is a remake and is based off the animated series that I grew up with as a kid, and I loved it. And I wanted to say first of all how much I appreciate how close and how accurate it was to the actual TV series, the animated one. And it felt like I was a kid again watching these. It was a little bit more quicker paced. They kind of chose certain episodes to redo. And that's basically what they did. They redid episodes in obviously a different order because the ones that they, were scheduled in the actual animated version, like one came out maybe one season, the other came out maybe the other season. This one was maybe episode number 5, this one was maybe episode number 10. I don't know for sure, but I remember the episodes as a kid. And I remember there was obviously stuff that happened in between. So they kind of picked and choose what episodes they wanted to remake. And I think they chose some really good ones. We had, obviously, we had the one in Omashu. We had the Kyoshi Warrior one on Kyoshi Island. We had the one up in the north with the Northern Water Tribe. That was like the last, like, hurrah of it. And in total, I think there was like maybe, I think there's like 10 episodes. We had the one where we went into the spirit realm, and we met Ko. That one I remember being freaked out about when I was a kid. And rewatching it, I'm like, the giant centipede thing is gonna come out. But I was really able to appreciate each one, and it just kind of made this whole new like timeline that was really cohesive and unique on its own to the series. They kind of chose like really important I think episodes to remake, and so I enjoyed it. Obviously, it's a TV series, they're not going to remake every single episode, and the fact that they're remaking episodes is in itself like so unique. I don't think a TV series, even being based off a book or a remake or whatever the case may be, does it exactly the same way as the original. And I'm not saying that it was exactly the same, the plot of the episode 100%, but it was essentially the same plot, just with a few tweaks. And some things I enjoy that they tweaked, some things I didn't, but I really appreciate it. I really liked it. And I think ending it off the way they did was really great. And it kind of wrapped it all up, because my earliest memory of this series was the first episode, Kyoshi Island, and I remember very specifically the Northern Water Tribe episodes because I thought they were just so beautiful and so well done, and it was just so epic, like you're like waiting to see what happened. And I remember the last one a lot, and then there's ones in between that I remember parts of it. It's been a while. I do want to rewatch the original series, but I'm also like just enjoying watching the remake. And I know they got it approved for season 2 and 3, which I'm really happy about, and I'm really excited to see what they do with it. And I don't know, they're just series when it's like you watched it as a kid and you want to keep in that like little box in your head, just to have the nostalgia of it and not have anything, deteriorate that. And you're kind of like scared that's gonna mess it up. Now that you're older and you've been through life and you have other things to compare it to. And I just kind of want to keep it like pure in my head. But I do kind of want to rewatch it too. And I know that a lot of people my age are barely watching it, or like they still watch it and they're still really into it. So I mean, I just kind of kept the love of it since I was a kid. But that kind of makes me feel better about rewatching it. I never really got into Legend of Korra. That I felt like I was too young to really fully appreciate. So I do want to watch that now. But with all that being said, I kind of want to get into the nitty gritty of like what I liked, what they changed, what I didn't like. And yeah, so let's get into that. So the first episode is very reminiscent of the animated series. It's kind of funny because at one point Katara's grandma basically recounts what Katara says at the beginning credits of the animated series, and it's kind of like, okay, and kind of funny and kind of like, and it's basically the first episode. It's Aang, being this kid and then finding out that he's the Avatar, and then he, gets caught in the storm. Him and Appa become this dormant ball thing, and then 100 years pass, and then Katara and Sokka find him, and basically he now has to undertake the, what it is to be the Avatar. Zuko right away shows up like he does in the series, and things get kicking and started. And I think that it was very well done in terms of who they chose to play the characters. I thought that the actors that they chose were really great. There were some moments that were a little cringy, I think, in the series. Not just the first episode, but just in general. But I think that's to be expected when you're remaking something that was already so well done, and now it's like trial and error, and it's the first season. I said a lot throughout the series that I actually liked it a lot better than the Percy Jackson remake, and that's saying a lot because I love Percy Jackson, but I think that it was just very well done, and they stuck a lot to kind of the core things that were going on within the TV series, the animated TV series, but they kind of added their own little pizzazz in there. So a lot of the cringy moments I think were in the first couple of episodes for sure, but then once it kind of kept going, we kind of like focused more, it was a little bit more mature in certain aspects, and I think once we reached for sure the Earth Kingdom and we were in Omashu, things really started rolling, and we kind of entered a nice groove of how the series was kind of gonna become. And even though it was gonna be still closely, related and associated with the animated series, it was kind of gonna become its own kind of new thing as well. I will say that I appreciate that it's gonna come that it's kind of come back. It's come back now. I went to Hot Topic the other day and there was Avatar shirts and everything, but it wasn't for the live action. It was for the original, TV series. So I kind of like that it's a new generation kind of getting introduced to it. And it's very closely tied, like I said, to the animated series. So like one knows that this was, remade from the animated series. So they kind of, are shown that, hey, you can also watch the animated series, which I like it that it did that, because I obviously, don't think it would have been great if, they just redid it and then we kind of were like, oh, Avatar, and we think automatically the live action. I want to, have that nostalgia of, I think it's just because, I grew up with it, but I want, people to know about the original, how great that was, and how this is being remade because of how great the original was. So kind of went all over the place there, but basically I think that it was just well done, the whole entire thing, and the actors really, it felt like I was watching the original characters, in the animated series, just come to life, and a lot of the voices just obviously they didn't talk like that. I've watched interviews and I've heard them talk, and they kind of altered their pitches a little bit and everything. They really tried, to make this work, and I really, really appreciate that. I think for me, the only person that was really weird to like see was Iroh, because he's, this hippie-go-lucky, tea-loving uncle. What was I gonna say, grandpa? Oh my god, sorry, Iroh. And here he was much more like an enforcer, like in like that he was very stern, I feel, and less kind of, like, hey, it was much more like a more redefined Iroh. And at first I didn't like that. And then there was like little jokes here and there about the tea, but I kind of missed him being kind of jokey and everything. But then I kind of liked it. Once we reached the last episode, I really, really enjoyed, how when like, it was like watching, like, how you read like Harry Potter and you read Dumbledore and he's kind of like all over the place, and then obviously in the movies he's a little bit more like stern, once they changed the actor. But it kind of felt like that, and it felt like it was really well done, because when he, they were killing the moon spirit, he was like, if you do this, I'm gonna, and I believed him, and I was like, yes, Iroh. I was like, the passion, and like it worked for me. So and then I loved how the love he had for Zuko was very present and very much like a huge part of him, and that wasn't taken away from his character. So it was just a little bit different, but I think it worked, all in all. Katara waterbending, and like she learned from like episode to episode very quickly, was a little startling to me. I was just like, girl, I want to see you, practice. Like, and she was at moments, but it was kind of more, she was like second guessing herself, and then it's like, she got it. I wanted to see more of the practicing of like the water bending. She didn't really teach Aang anything, and that's happening more so later. And when, like, obviously, like, after the Northern Water Tribe incident, she's just like, I'm gonna teach him. I'm like, girl, you should have been teaching him already. But yeah, and I think that because we progressed so quickly, and it was one episode that showed up in the animated series, and then another one, and then it's like just kind of to condense it. I think in terms of Sokka, like, we met Suki, and he, like, had the hots for her, and then we met Yue, and I'm just like, this was 2 episodes apart, Sokka, like, bro, you need to calm down. We're in the actual animated series, it was very much so, like, a good chunk of time in between, like, bro was a player in this series, but good for you, Sokka. I liked how he became very... he was kind of kicking butt at the end, and it was a very much a change from Sokka, because he's very much like a jokester, but that's still very much his character. But I think it felt very much like character growth that didn't really happen so quickly in the animated series, but you like, having Sokka around just for like, sarcasm and, that relief of like that tension going on. He's that kind of character. But I think that we undermine Sokka in that way, because he kicks butt, and in this one he's very much like at the end very strategical, very like, yes, we need to get this done, you got this, and everything. And I really liked that. I don't know how that's gonna be implemented, because he grew a lot from like episode 1 to like the end. But we have the next 2 seasons, and maybe more than that. So I'm kind of wondering how they're going to incorporate that. But even then, like, he's still great. That moment where Yue just, like, first of all, Yue waterbends. I don't believe she did. Not everybody waterbends, and not everybody firebends, and like, but everybody was, doing the things, and I was like, okay, where my normal people at? Because there were some. So she like water bends and like freezes Sokka to the ground after like Momo basically almost dies, and I'm like, Momo! And I don't remember if this happened in the actual series because again it was so long ago. And so she revives Momo, and like this is where like, you know, the spirits are living in the pond at the end, and like the yin and yang thing. And so basically she puts him in the pool, he revives himself. I don't know if it's like her power or the moon power, or the moon giving Momo power, you know, the ability to revive, like they did her. I don't know exactly how it was or what, when, how. And then obviously she gives herself her, you know, like her essence and the lifespan that the moon spirit gave to her back to it. And I'm over here like, does Momo have some of it? I don't know. So basically, like, she like freezes him there, and I'm like, Sokka, can you just get out your, you know, ball thingy and be like, bah, bah, bah. Or can Momo throw a rock or something? Like, it's just ice. Like, we could have stopped her. And how does she know that getting into the pool is giving it back? Like, I don't remember if it was this easy to just be like, you know, I give it to you. I kind of remember it being more of a thing. Not like she had to figure it out, but just kind of like she had to feel it, and it was more so, it happened very quickly. I didn't really feel like, oh my goodness, she's giving her life, and I didn't feel Sokka being very much like, no, don't do that, you know. Like, he was just kind of staring at her, and then he was like, no, don't do that, and I'm like, oh my god. Like, they kissed very quickly. She was like, you're the guy in my dreams, because she saw him in the dream world and the spirit world, and I'm like, oh my god. I was just like, I wanted more in their relationship. I wanted them to be more connected. I wanted them to get to know each other like they did in the TV series. Him and Suki, like, they got to, like, that was a thing, you know? So I don't know. But other than that, it was a great episode. The only thing I don't understand, wasn't Aang waterbending as the giant fish? Like, he was just smacking people, like, with the ocean, like in this one. Very Godzilla-like. And I don't remember if he, like, gave himself up to the fish to, like, you know, it to exert its wrath, and now he was the fish. I don't remember if that was how it was in the original, because that's how it was here. He was, like, very much his full body in the giant spirit fish, but he was the fish now. Because the moonfish died, and so, like, he wanted to, like, obviously stop the people from, like, further hurting, like, the Northern Water Tribe, and the fish was mad, so hiya! Giant fish. So I remember the fish waterbending, so that's just me. And I remember Aang obviously having waterbending skill a little bit up until this point. But, yeah, the whole necklace that Katara had, and that being like an engagement ring, that didn't happen. It was supposed to be that that was her grandma's, that she gave to her, and that was her engagement ring from the guy that she met at the Northern Water Tribe. But none of that happened. Her kicking his butt did happen. What else? There were just a lot of things, I think, that they added that were different, that left me raising an eyebrow and having a little bit more questions than I think I probably should have. But that didn't distract or defer from the fact that these episodes were really good. It just was like me raising an eyebrow and be like, I don't understand. Okay. When they entered the spirit realm in that one episode, and he was supposed to help heal, like, the spirit of the forest. Like, spirit of the forest did not get, he still hurt somewhere in there. Like, we just traded the thing for Ko to release, Sokka and Katara, and that was it. And so he is he okay? We don't know. We never got that. At the end of the Northern Water Tribe episode, they conquered Umashu, and then we have that's another thing I wanted to talk about. Zuko's sister, she was, leading kind of like the Fire Nation military. They conquered it. But Azula, I think, was very like just a background character. I loved Azula in the first in the animated series. And she was obviously very much, Firelord Ozai's, like, her dad's favorite. Like, there was no doubt about it. And girl was like, bending the lightning since like day one. And Zuko was very much like not up to her par in their dad's eyes. But as soon as Zuko found the Avatar in this series, he was like, "Don't forget, Zuko found the Avatar. You shall not undermine your brother." And it was just like, I think he's gotten a little soft here. Like, poor Azula. And it was just but it was also kind of like confusing. I'm like, do you, what is happening? Do you care more about Zuko than you let on? I think you do. And Azula is not like up here, because Azula is kind of like down here in terms like of like how they're portraying her in her father's eyes. She is like never amounting to his expectations, or the expectations of her brother, who was banished, and now is doing great over there, trying to capture the Avatar, and he still hasn't brought him back. But daddy over here being like, "You're still not good enough." And then she just is like fighting all these like different people trying to show her skill. The dad's like, nah. And Azula is just like, he doesn't understand. Like, very much like, I feel like in the animated series she was bratty, but here it was just kind of like, girl, like, I just kind of had enough of her. I was just like, you have daddy issues. Where in the original, she was very much beloved by her father. Not like love, because this guy can't give love, really. But still. And then she's all of a sudden lightning bending, and it was just like, aha. And it's like, now you may go forth into the world, child. But then it was revealed through General Zhao that basically, like, Ozai was doing that all along to kind of fuel Azula and like train her and like, make her want to do better. And then now she's ready. And it was just kind of like, Zuko was not important to his dad at all. And I'm like, I'm very confused because you showed me otherwise. And then Zhao ends up telling Zuko this, and Zuko, oh my god, Zuko. Boy kept having tantrums, like literal tantrums, screaming into people's faces, like, ah! And I'm like, oh my god, like, please stop. Like, you keep being mad, but it's just like, literally, he was like pounding the ground. I'm like, bro, no. I think the actor who played him did very well, but those moments I was just like, can we not? Can we not? Like, you can scream, you can be mad, like, blow fire out of your fist, like, that's, and yell. But the fact that you're, like, shaking the guy, like, ah! It's like, no. And Ira just watching, I'm like, oh, the child. And I'm just watching, I'm like, oh, the child. But, yeah, oh my god, no. But yeah, I don't know what to think about that. It just, oh. Also, I don't know if, like, going back to, like, the beginning, Aang was obviously very young when he was told that he was the Avatar. I don't know how, obviously they're, like, I guess, given that, reincarnated from, a baby, like, it's the Avatar, powers when they're young given to them from the past Avatar. But I don't know when they start their training, because I don't know if they get their, like, they're able to get their abilities at a very young age. But then I think back to, like, the first episodes that I watched of Korra, when I did watch the couple of episodes that I did, and she was very young. So I don't know when or how, like, that training starts, or when they're told, like, do they get to, like, live their childhood? I don't really know. Or is it like after Aang? Like it's like training must begin, and now. But yeah, I think I remember them saying that like he was fairly young. But like I don't know, like I wanted to remember this from the original series and I do not. And then I was very much pre-pneumonia when watching it in this new series, so I didn't really pay attention to that. So if someone knows, please tell me. Another thing, we had Sokka like every episode. I'm not the warrior my dad, wanted me to be, and then I am, and then I'm not, and then I am, and I'm like, oh my god, Sokka, oh my god. When we met Boomy, oh my goodness, like he was I know that he fought Aang. I remember that, but I remember them, like, going down, like, I just had a memory of them going down, like, the chutes and everything, and they didn't show, like, a flashback of that. I don't think they did, but Boomy was very mean, and, like, very much, like, you weren't around, and blah, blah, blah. It wasn't, like, I didn't feel like it was, like, a full circle forgiveness, it felt very much like they still have beef between each other, when the episode ended, and I was like, this is very sad. I love that we had, characters that, like, were very important to, I want to get Toph in the next series, obviously, next season, but that were really important to, like, the first series. These were episodes that introduced, very important characters. We had Jet, we had, Suki, we had, King Boomy, we had, who else? General Zhao, we had Azula, we had all these, very important characters. And I think that's why they kind of sped up the series too, to kind of like choose the episodes that like showcase the main important people and the main important things. We had that episode where Zuko ended up, saving Aang, and that kind of showed the more humble side of him, and we saw his, his past and like what happened to him. The whole Iroh with like he should have died with his son thing, I didn't really understand. Can someone please explain that to me? Because I was just kind of like, I don't, like, was this in the TV? What? No, Iroh. So sad. But he was just, kind of, but I think him and his brother, like, they kind of really got along. Like, it was just like, no, brother. Like, there was respect there. But yeah, I really liked, what they did, for season 1. And I look forward to seeing what they're going to do in season 2 and 3. I know that these actors are very passionate about, making it great. I think Nickelodeon, was like doing it with them in the beginning, and they kind of like stepped away, or they like didn't want to be a part of the series anymore. I don't remember what happened with that. I want to do more research with that, but I think that they should be very proud of what they've accomplished, and that it really does justice to the original animated series, and it brings back like nostalgia of like when I was a kid again. Once I finished Avatar, it was very much like I finished Avatar, and I was young, and so I didn't really watch it, thoroughly. It was more sort of like I watched it on Saturday mornings with my brother and sister, and then once I got older and like the last couple episodes were coming out, like I was dedicated. I'm pretty sure I missed a couple of episodes, but once Korra came out, I just kind of was like transitioning into teenagehood. It didn't feel the same. I think Korra's a much more mature series, and so that's why I kind of want to, watch it now, and I'll have more appreciation for it now. But then it was also kind of taken away from what I watched as a kid, because there was these new characters, and then my characters I fell in love with, they were older, and then certain people I found out were not together anymore, and then some people were dead, and I was just like, no. And I found out that they continued the story of like Aang and Sokka and everybody, like I think it was in a comic or a manga, like they had the stories in between them, but I just kind of like pushed it to the side. I was like, Avatar's over, it is what it is, it still lives in my heart, that's it. And I never got around to like finding out really any more about it, unless it was just kind of by accident. And then Korra, I never really watched it, besides the first 5 episodes. But yeah, so now I'm like, it's back, I want to do all the things, and I look forward to seeing what comes next. So yeah, thank you so much for watching. I hope to see you all soon. Bye!